Hello and welcome back to the second episode of the DTF podcast. It is I, Simon, joined in the studio by Amy, and remotely we have Kirsty and Ellis. Listen, some of us are sore, and therefore remote working was, we're kicking it back, 2020 vibes up in here. So we've got a few things to discuss this week. Of course, on everyone's mind is where we're at. It's been 2 weeks. I feel like that's going to be a good point to perhaps get into. But also, just general discussion around fitness industry and or other bits and or pieces. How are we all today?
Sore.
Yeah. My legs
Those
hurt.
deadlifts yesterday, man.
Not too bad. Not too bad my end. I unfortunately bailed on the group session from yesterday. It would have been our first one altogether, and I bailed, unfortunately.
Hey, it's fine. It's all good. Hey, like we said last week, all good to get off the horse as long as you get back on the horse. That's what matters.
Definitely.
That is what matters. You haven't seen these as of yet. I showed Kirsty.
Is it your bruises?
Yeah. They're not that bad.
Yeah, but you can tell you've deadlifted.
But they're pain. This one was
For those that are currently wondering what
Oh,
Simon is
that's
showing
bad.
Amy, it is his shins from deadlifting yesterday.
Yeah.
There was a discussion about whether or not he was potentially bleeding. He didn't. He was just very, very bruised.
It was close. It did look pretty scuffed.
Yeah.
Like they were rawer yesterday. But yeah.
Well, it's a good job you didn't bleed because I might have passed out.
Have your two first aiders in that room yesterday. I will be the one dealing with everything.
You're first aid trained, Kirsty, aren't you?
Yeah, two first aiders, me and you.
Would have been fine. So you could have dealt with Simon's bleeding and my fainting. Done.
Yes, I would have literally just raised your legs and put them on the bar.
I'm just thinking, how many recorded times in history has a first aider had to tend to a first aider? It's probably,
Yeah.
It's probably more than I think.
Yeah.
But it's just a funny thing to think about.
Yeah.
I think with a first aider, they would already know, I'm not feeling so good. I need to start getting myself into a position that I'm set for, and then going, hey, first aider, I'm about to pass out. Grab me.
Hold me. Respectfully.
Trustful.
We must be held.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with occasionally being held. Okay, so I think let's jump in and talk about it. Because we spent a lot of time 2 weeks ago. I was going to say last week.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, talking about our goals and our progress. So let's, who wants, and obviously, put ourselves up for our punishments, as it were. Who wants to go first?
Who feels like they've been quite successful? Because I feel like I did really well. I don't know how anyone else feels.
I too think I've done pretty okay, I guess. So.
I mean, I'm moving more.
All right. So let's
start.
Let's quantify this. I'm a quantify because that's what I do. I have since the last recording session 1% body fat down. Let's go. Which resulted in 2 pounds on the scale.
Way.
However, there are some caveats, because there's always caveats. That was on... Okay, so hold on, we're recording this... Just to date this, it's the 28th of January. I last stepped on a scale on Monday, because I weigh in every Monday. And when I weighed in on Monday, it had been about 18 hours since I had eaten. So...
Okay.
I'm just, there's
We'll see what the scale says tomorrow.
there's levels.
Yeah.
There's levels. But that's where I'm at.
Okay.
What about Mr. Success over there?
That's you, Ellis.
I was about to say, you said Mr. Success. Okay. So my highest weight, I was weighing at 195 pounds and 0.3. I am down to 192.2. So I've lost 3.1 pounds. 3% of that being body fat, and I've actually gained 6.8 pounds of skeletal muscle as well. So losing a bit of the fat, gaining a bit of the muscle, it's a good start.
I mean, that was pretty much exactly what you wanted to do, right?
Exactly.
Nice. Amy?
Yeah, so I've been keeping a food diary. And I've still been having sugar. Don't remember because I still wanted to have less sugar, but you can't just go from 100 to 0.
No.
Like, doesn't work. So I had to keep reminding myself of that, kind of like, because I tend to just go all or nothing. I have to keep like reminding myself that I can eat just less. That is the goal, is just to eat less, and I have. And like, it's not like I've had to cut out all sugar. So I feel like that's been really good. Also, I've definitely been eating more plant-based.
Okay.
And whole grains as well, like having like brown rice and things with my meals.
How do you find brown rice comparative to regular rice? Because
Oh.
I'll be honest, the
It's
smell
grim.
puts me off a
Yeah,
lot.
you get used to it. I would say, like, don't
Right.
get me wrong, I prefer white rice.
Okay.
I do.
You get used to the weird crunchy texture
it's a
of brown
different
rice. Like,
texture, but that's because it's less processed. So that's,
True.
like it's meant to be that way. We're kind of used to the softer stuff because it's what we've had most of our lives. But yeah, obviously nutrient-wise, brown rice does contain more. And so I was saying to Kirsty that I started doing push-ups.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
And modified though, because I haven't done any strength exercise for 2 years.
I mean, like, it's a start.
That's a lie. You've been carrying a baby around for.
That's true. That's
So
true.
like, I knew I was going to be starting from 0, and I literally did 2.5 push-ups. So I went down, and then I went down to the floor, and I was like, wow, like your strength does just decline if you don't keep doing
Oh god,
it.
yeah. Like the body, you have to work so hard to gain the muscle. You have to basically adapt, change your whole lifestyle to get the muscle. But because the body, it feels it doesn't need it, it's the first thing to go.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
great.
You don't need to be strong to do push-ups. Anyway, so I started with 2.5, and I'm now up to 5.
Okay.
So do you know what I mean? I kind of like, so I've definitely gained some strength.
You've
in that
like
sense.
doubled your push-ups
Exactly.
in 2 weeks.
Like,
So in a month, you're going to be doing so many
who
push-ups.
knows exactly? So I just have to keep doing
she's
that.
she's gonna be doing one-arm push-ups. Like, let's go.
Yeah, like explosive push-ups, all of that. But I also at work I did my 1 rep maxes on the machines.
Okay.
So I'll do those again probably in a couple of months' time, because there's no point doing them like all the time.
No. God no.
So yeah. So yeah, I'll try that obviously, and then that'll be a good marker if I've gotten stronger.
Sweet.
Like, so obviously those are my goals. I have lost a little bit of weight, but I think it's just a natural byproduct of moving more, using my muscle, burning calories. That's obviously it's not a goal, but it's progress in a sense that I'm happy about it, but I'm not like that's not what I'm aiming for.
I think it can be the body's reaction to it, in the essence of you're moving more, so because of what you've been doing activity-wise for the past, I don't know, like 18 months, just as a number on it. The fact that in 2 weeks you have then changed that, not completely, but you've definitely adapted. The body goes, whoa, we need to readjust it.
Yeah.
Kirsty?
Yes. So I have been using January as kind of like an adaptability month, in the sense of tracking my food again, starting to move more, things like that, because it's so hard to go from nothing to committed straight away. So I've been getting up, I've been doing my cardio in the morning, trying to add in a little bit extra weight as well in the mornings when I'm getting up early. Yeah, however, I was knocked back by the loving embrace of Mother Nature. And she was real mean this month. So, we just keep moving, just gotta keep going.
How many chocolate bars did you eat?
Only one for. Hang on, okay.
This is one of the family-size share bars, by the way.
No. It wasn't the big one. It was the medium one. But also, when you're at work, I had to make a very conscious effort. I was staring at chocolate bars because we have the canteen at work, and you would be so impressed. I went no and grabbed a banana and walked back to my desk, and the guys behind the counter were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." I just walked away.
I was thinking it's like only one, and it's like in my head I'm like, it's the 4.5 kilo Toblerone. That's what you said.
No, it was a fruit and nut that was that I kept in the fridge, and I had a little chunk each day, just like a strip. But then I think it was Friday. No, yes, all right. It was Saturday morning. It was yesterday morning. I got up. Ellis made pancakes. I had 2 pancakes, and then I wolfed down the rest of that chocolate bar. I was just like, I just need something.
Does
So
fruit and nut
yeah.
count as one of your 5 a day?
Well, the fruit and nut, absolutely. I'm gonna go double
Consulted.
check there if there's a little
count it
message
for
on there
my
saying
own.
what's
There
the
is
size?
100% not.
It's
Don't
subjective.
know.
It's subjective, guys. Like, who knows?
Yeah. And technically, there was only like 2 lines left of the fruit and nut that was in the fridge anyway. And bear this in mind, I technically bought 3 bars of chocolate when I went shopping last, and I've only eaten one of them. That is improvement. That's a massive improvement for
But she
me.
went shopping today and she's bought another 2 bars.
No,
so...
I didn't. No, I did not buy any chocolate this week.
I mean, if we're gonna say about potential self-sabotage, I have 1 kilogram of mini eggs in my flat. So
Hound, is that had or have? Because you only said yesterday that they turned up.
have 1 kilogram
Right.
of mini eggs, and the smell comes through the packaging.
Oh,
It
no.
smells so sweet. And I did some quick math. The bag is only 5,000 calories.
Oh my gosh.
Only?
Yeah. I've eaten
Hang
like
on.
triple that in a day before.
Oh.
So you've been thinking about doing a 20,000 calorie challenge in the sense of eating it. You could do that in just mini eggs.
I couldn't.
Yeah,
Have
no,
you-
they'd feel
Have you
horrendous.
ever eaten one thing to the point on your body physically rejecting it? Because I
Can't say
have,
I
and
have.
I know what that feels like.
The fact is as well with mini egg, it's got a bit of a chew to it, so I feel like you'd get a proper jaw ache after.
Oh,
Yeah.
your mouth's going to be shredded by the shell. You'd need to
That-
almost to avoid
Or
that.
do
You
you-
need to literally suck them down, and that you're just going to be there hours.
This sounds so rude. Anyway, I was going to say you could just put them in a milkshake.
I have a question, Kirsty.
Yeah.
Have you taken your progress pictures, like your first pictures?
Yes, I have taken photos. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I took them when I noticed that the bloating from Mother Nature was going down.
So, are you obviously in terms of again how we're measuring? We said before you're not weighing yourself; you're going by
Yeah.
visual and how your clothes fit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, I may get to the stage where I feel comfortable doing a weigh-in, and I may do that, and then add that in once every month or so.
Yeah,
Not
that's cool. I
religiously.
just wanted to clarify. That's all, because I wasn't quite sure because we've all got again our own measurements and metrics.
Yeah.
So.
I
Yeah.
think it's going to be potentially interesting as well because obviously I would hazard a guess that the scales and Ellis are using are probably completely different, and I know we touched upon it last time in the fact that how accurate can it actually be. But I think if we both utilise the one that's at the gym that we go to, that way we can get a closer representation.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. At least that way it's like a basis. It's all of one machine, so we all know what we're working from.
You'd also have to make I don't know whether or not you'd be so religious to make sure you was doing it at the same time whenever you do it.
I think
Yeah, I
that's
have-
the
go on,
gold
Amy.
standard. The ideal is that you weigh yourself at the same time each day on the same scales. But in terms of we probably won't be able to make sure we get to the gym at exactly the right time
No,
every time for those scales.
I'm trying to rack my brain as to what it's called. There's a thing, a standardized, not standardized, but it's, I don't know. There's a word that I'm trying to think of that is escaping me right now, where it's whatever. You get what we're trying to say is the aspect of we'd be utilising the same equipment to make
Yeah.
sure at the same
Yeah.
time to make sure. But then there's whatever. Science, numbers, math.
Well, I've got mine. It's called Fit Quest.
Fit Quest.
Yeah, that's the scales at the gym. So I've got mine. It saves it on your profile if you log in on the gym the gym website.
I should do that
Yeah.
because I don't.
So I've got, even though I'm not an actual member, I pay as you go each time. I can still access my info. It'll save it for me on my.
I should do that because
gym
I
profile.
definitely don't.
I should download that app.
Yeah. Well, it's just if you just go on the gym group website.
Yeah.
Other gyms
No,
are
well,
available. then
Yeah. You
not
don't
an ad.
say. Hashtag not sponsored.
Yet. But yeah, so if you go on there, you can log in and you can go into your membership and it will come up with all your stats, so you can keep track of it on there as well.
All right. Well, hey, by the sounds of it, we're all getting somewhere.
Yeah.
But who can keep it up the best?
Can I just quickly say, I had this thought on the punishments, is that I think I got off the worst out of
Right,
everyone,
okay.
because the three of you guys can all do yours quite privately, right? Nobody's going to see you guys, whereas I have a very public shaming if I get...
You said that was your worst
I'm
fear.
saying that would be a bad punishment, but I also find it is hella motivating. Like, I've literally, any time that I've gone, oh, what, maybe I should or shouldn't do that, I just think of Freddie Mercury, and I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it, or nope, I have to do it. Like, I've been really strict with my push-ups because I'm like, I'm not going to the gym. It's very motivating, just saying.
See, here's the thing. As someone who actively tracks like everything they put in their body every day, and that's kind of to go back to what Kirsty was saying. When you don't do that, to pivot to then do that, it's like, oh, this sucks so hard. Now it's weird for me to not do it.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm going to have to sit there, because the way that my app works is I tap on a meal occasion and then I input what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So man, like, you know, let's say I am the least successful. I'm like, oh boy, time to eat cabbage. And I tap on lunch and I'm like, oh man, like, you know, 200 grams of lean minced beef, that'd be real nice right now. You know, and the thing being is, I have to document it there, but also, like, I'm going to have to keep myself accountable in the aspect of, like, you know, there's content to be made there in watching me eat an iceberg lettuce.
Yeah.
Oh my
I mean, I won't, because I'm not going to lose. But
Have you ever had tofu?
I have never had tofu.
Oh, first time for everybody.
Tofu? Yeah. I
Oh,
must admit, the first time I had tofu, I had a smoked tofu, and it was really quite nice. So, for that being like your source of protein, I think you might genuinely actually like it.
Tofu tastes of nothing. You marinate it to what you
Oh yeah,
want
you
it to taste
flavour it.
like. But I remember where, oh god, like over 7 years ago, I'd be round Amy's and I'd be like, oh, what have you got going on there? And she's got a piece of tofu between like two pieces of kitchen roll being squashed down by books, like heavy books. So she's like, I'm just, pressing the water out of the tofu.
Oh.
Yeah, you buy some tofu already pre-pressed, but some come in like water essentially to obviously keep it. And you have to press all the water out.
Is this like buying a block of cheese versus buying grated cheese?
Yeah, like you get the bags of mozzarella where they're still in like the water, so it's kind of like that. You're like pressing out the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
so,
you can come up with all the suggestions, but you guys can eat tofu while I'm shredded AF. So. He says, having had 2 days this week that have been over 4,000 calories, but we're gonna gloss over
And now
that.
he's giving himself a 5,000 bag of calories from mini eggs.
No, and look, here's the thing: the mini eggs, they're good till July. I checked.
Look, apparently a single serving of mini eggs counts as 8 mini eggs, and that's 123 calories. In 8.
He's just going to be eating 8 mini eggs a day.
80 mini eggs a day.
I tell you what, I will put it on record. I'll put it on record on this podcast. When I open those mini eggs, I'm going to count how many there are, and we will determine how many servings of mini eggs a kilogram is.
What do you say on the packaging?
I think we should all take a guess.
It'll be an approximate, won't it?
Yeah. Oh, we could play a game.
Yeah.
How many mini like the jar? How many sweets are in the jar? How many mini eggs are in the bag?
Yes, we need to do that.
All right, let's do it right now.
Oh
'cause
my
I thought it
it's
was going to be
topical.
how many mini eggs can you fit in your mouth?
Oh god.
Well, I'll be the only one answering that question. Because my mini eggs, you lot can back the fuck off.
Well, that's we're going to be here at least a couple of times a month. So if they go missing, I'm just saying, like,
It's not me.
Trust will be broken. I'm sleeping with them, like in my pillowcase, like.
He sleeps on his mini eggs.
I nest them like a mother. All right, we'll come back to that because that'll be interesting, and then the winner can have a prize, and the prize is not mini eggs.
It's a tofu.
My mini eggs. Okay. I actually have something I'd like to bring up and discuss. This is the point where we're going to pivot and actually talk about some other stuff, not just how much we want each other to succeed, but also hate each other at the same time.
Yes.
In a loving way. So obviously it's the end of January, and I think we all know, having at some point in our lives dipped into, or Ellis for the first time dipping into the fitness industry, and Amy, Kirsty, and myself have seen it. Gyms in January.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
Let's talk. Let's have a bit of a round table. Because man, it's been nuts, right?
Yeah. I thought it was going to start calming down, like, this week. No. It's still rampant.
It'll probably be mid-February before it starts calming down.
For the first time, I've been going to that gym now for just about a year, and for the first time, I saw the figures on people in there above 3 figures, and I was like, "Oh, that's a lot of people."
Wow.
Because it's a somewhat big gym,
Yeah.
but it's not the biggest gym.
Mm.
So I'm like, oh, and hey, more power to them. Love people.
Yeah.
Pushing that.
Yeah.
But man, does it make the regular gym goer go, and hey, look, no, we love you. We want you to succeed. Welcome to our community. But good God.
Come at a more convenient time.
Did also notice lots of teenagers.
Yes, there was yesterday.
There was yesterday, and I think there was when we went last week as well. I was just like,
there was a group last time.
Did they get their ages checked before they could come in? Because I feel like you have to be 16 over.
Possibly.
I mean, 16-year-old these days do look older. Like they kind of, I think, I don't think anyone in there was underage.
Nah. But no, well, that's a guess from my part, because like I say, I did not notice. I mean, you guys probably saw it yesterday. If I'm there, I am
in the zone.
In the zone. I'm nothing else is occurring. I get in, I destroy my shins, and I go home.
Went very, very red. The temptation to say breathe.
No, because you can breathe during a deadlift, but you have to brace and hold it all in.
I mean, if you're doing just one singular deadlift, yes. If you're doing repeated, you need to breathe.
I was at the top. I was at the top. A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't pass out, so it's all good.
There we go. I didn't collapse and die.
I will just say this, Amy. One of the first times we went, Simon and I went to the gym, we did back, so he was doing rows, and I just looked at his face, and I was like, dude, breathe. And I was just like, he was like, yeah, I kind of needed to. It was like, just breathe. It's not a bad thing.
It's funny how sometimes, as a PT, you have to remind people to breathe when they lift. Like, you'd be surprised how many people do just hold their breath, and they'll keep holding it, and you kind of have to coach them through actually breathing.
Yeah, it is weird, because it's one of those things. Breathing is, no one ever really thinks about breathing. We just do it, and then when someone tells you to do it, you become so conscious of your breathing. You're like, am I breathing now? Am I breathing now? I don't know, and it's just.
Then you hyperventilate.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. It's just been it's obviously it's not crazy and it's not a complaint, but it's something I've noticed because even though I don't go as much as I used to, given the fact that I now train with a mutual friend at his house in the morning rather than go to the gym, it is something that I've just noticed in the aspect of I'm like, man, there's people here, and it's good.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's nice to see people like you say trying to do something. That's what we're all about, something is better than nothing. But it is, when you're used to a quieter gym, to then have to get used to a lot of people where you can't just do the exercises you want in the order you want, in the timing that you want. It can be an adjustment.
But that's also one of the things that kind of can make it, not fun's the wrong word, I suppose, it was the first one that came to mind, but it's the aspect of you then go and you then, as someone who has done it a fair bit, you can go in and you can adapt. You can be like, okay, let's say you want to do a certain kind of pull down. Okay, well, there's no pull downs available. Okay, what else can I do to work my back, so to speak?
Yeah.
And that's, you just mix it up a little bit. Because, Ellis, to ask you the question, obviously you came with us a couple weeks back. How did you find that as a first experience?
First experience, it's a little bit overwhelming, but and just for the fact that you're trying to wait or not fight over machines, but you are waiting for machines to become available. it's a little bit daunting, especially when you get some like really active people. It kind of not belittling, but it's kind of like, oh bloody hell, it's a bit of a moment. But as soon as you get in there and you start working at yourself, it's just you, yourself, and I. Like people are doing their thing, and then you're doing yours. Like nobody's kind of paid attention to you or likewise. But there are people who are out there to help you. But yeah, it was daunting, but when you got into it and started working out, it was fine.
I just remember the like dopamine release you were having. Like you just like you were loving life, you know.
It was a good when I was getting the workout in.
And then we we got him working shoulders. This poor boy experiencing shoulders for the first time.
Oh, it sucked. It's it come to every single set, and I just before I had this sucked so hard, so hard.
Yeah, I did on the last set. I'd put one of the little like 1.1 kilo weights onto the rack. So I'd finished mine, and I went to Simon as Ellis did his because he'd been doing the same weight as me. I was like, "How long do you think he'll notice before he's like the weight's different?" And he got to, I think it was 8 reps. He was like, "I can't get my arms up." I was like, "Well, just take the weight down." He's looking at it. He's going, "I can't. There's no more weight." I was like, "Ellis, just slide it across." He's like, "Oh."
Yeah, I didn't know that was there. So
Yeah.
it's like a tiny little weight, and it's like higher up above the set weights. Didn't know about it. So yeah, Kirsty sabotaged me. So thanks.
Successful
You are welcome.
sabotage.
Well, I say she sabotaged me, but she gave me more weight to potentially to get me that more muscle.
Getting more absolutely yoked, brother.
Yeah, she pushed you sneakily.
I just hit a point. I was like, "Come on, one more rep. Let's go. Do it."
Oh,
He's
we
like,
do that
"Come
to
on,
Simon,
Rob,
definitely
Rob."
so.
Oh, don't. Yeah, I had absolutely nothing left. I was drained.
Yeah.
And you guys just, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, that's the thing. Shoulders is.
Awful.
Oh.
Like, I'll train them, obviously, but man, it's something that I don't like, but it's just, it is one of those exercise groups where I'm like, I just have to grit my teeth and get through this. You know, it's like, I just,
Yep.
because the muscle group is so small, like, it just hurts
Complex.
immediately.
Yeah.
It's one of the easiest muscles to injure as well. I cannot tell you how many times I still don't think I'm fully recovered from injuries that I sustained to my shoulders years ago, like prior to COVID or during COVID.
That's one of the
I
guys
just
that I
don't wanna-
work with. That's an issue that he's got. Like, he's insanely strong. Like, he's genuinely quite impressively strong. Like, if comparatively from a size wise, like he's a big boy. Like, he's not fat for me to say. He's like big. He's like 6'3", maybe like about 100 kilo. So he's a big guy, very strong. But that's the thing he says. He has to really take care about the movements he does because his shoulders are just. You know, because he started training very young and picked up bad training habits very young, his shoulders are just destroyed. So he's like, yeah, I have to really like warm them up, warm them down, look after them. And I'm like, okay, I'd like to not get to that point.
Well, ideally, everyone will be doing that anyway, regardless of whether you've got injuries or not. That's again, ideally you'd be warming up, stretching for every muscle so that you don't get injury on top of, the correct form, which I get can be really difficult for someone who is completely new to the gym. And you do kind of sort of, to avoid feeling embarrassed, you just get on and do it, and like you say, and then sometimes you can end up in bad habits because you just do it wrong accidentally.
Yep.
But yeah, I get it. That is a tricky part of starting at a gym. Like, you are worried if you're doing it right or not.
I think it's also as well starting to the gym and a wider concept of the industry. Like, there's so much out there.
Yeah.
So, and like, what's right, what's wrong, who's trying to sell you, like, it's so tough, and that's, I don't know, and I suppose that's kind of why, we're not here to tell anyone what they should do.
No.
We're not here to tell people what they shouldn't do. We're just here as people that have goals, want to achieve them, and share our stories, because for me, a big thing can be sharing successful stories can be very motivating for others, right? And if we can have 4 success stories of varying degrees, then surely that will help motivate someone else. Hopefully, at least, right? Because the whole mentality that I've always had and carried is, hell, if I can do it, remembering where I was, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was going to be impossible. And it turns out it's just really fucking easy.
Yeah.
It's just...
Once you get going and you're comfortable, yeah, it is like...
It's just like, if your whole thing at the end of the day is literally you just want to lose some weight, it's just maths. And for people that don't like numbers, that's going to sound really boring and miserable, but it is just maths.
Do you know what? Funny, me and Kirsty had a conversation about how different it is for men versus women, in that you kind of physiologically have fewer barriers in terms of like hormones and fluctuations and things like that. It is a bit harder for us. Sometimes our bodies will respond really well to something we're doing. We can do the exact same thing 2 weeks later and our bodies will not like it because our hormones are just completely off. Like, I know, and obviously that's not the same, it's not black and white men and women. Obviously there'll be men that experience that, women who don't experience that, but it's kind of, it is really tough to find out where your body is kind of, what works for it when that fluctuates quite a lot. Like, you really have to spend a lot of time focusing on like sort of how you feel one day versus the next, and what helps one day versus like, and sort of really narrow down what works for you at what time in your life that you are. It is, so I think it is like, maths is great, and it is genuinely calories in versus calories out. If you eat less than you are burning, you will lose weight. It's inevitable.
Yep.
But it's not, obviously, sometimes it is a little bit trickier.
Oh, you know, there are levels to it, but like in its purest form, that's kind of what it is, you know. And like, I remember it was funny explaining it to someone that I work with, and he just didn't get it, and I just remember saying to him one day, I was like, you know, just by existing, because like this guy was like, not quite, but he was near enough double my weight. I was like, just by existing, you burn more calories. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, just by your weight, you, like, existing, he's putting more pressure on your body. It has to do more work to keep you alive. And then when I showed him the TDE calculator, he was like, oh, because he wondered why he was sticking to 1,500 calories a day and then breaking like 6 days later. He's like, it's too hard. I went, because you're eating too little. He was like, what do you mean I'm eating too little? And I'm like, but that's the thing. It's about changing that mentality as well of, oh man, to lose weight, I need to eat like rabbit food. I need to eat 800 calories of salad and just no. You know, you can do whatever. Like, obviously, you guys have been doing like, I think like you're doing a food diary. Yeah. I know Kirsty said she's starting to track as well, and I know Ellis has really been keeping on top of like his calories. Like, it is just having that mental note, or just that reference, and then obviously that slides in time, because you know in 3 months' time you're gonna have to switch it up, because you will eventually plateau.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just keeping a food diary or keeping a calories. It kind of puts a limelight, because I never have done it before, and it puts a limelight of how many calories are in what. Because thinking of it, I would just pick up a chocolate bar and that would be it. I wouldn't actually really look at the calorie intake or any of the nutritional value of it. But when it's actually taking a diary and breaking it down as to what's in it, and that, oh, this little chocolate bar, it's like one of the small like bite-sized lunchable little things, it's like nearly 200 calories. It's just like, that could be used somewhere else completely. So it's just having that knowledge from experience, just saying, okay, I can eat this and this, but I have to like avoid this because that's going to put me over. It's just having that little bit of knowledge to keep control of what you're intaking.
Yeah, no, exactly, because you know, like a bar of chocolate, like a 40-something gram bar of chocolate, let's say, is like 220 calories, right? That's like over 100 grams of like chicken as a reference point, right? That's not saying you can't have the chocolate bar. It's just being aware of, okay, so for this many calories, I can have the chocolate bar, or I can have this. Like, again, chicken is the reference. You know, you can still have something sweet and probably more voluminous for that 200 calories, or whatever, you know, arbitrary figure I said. But that's the thing. Like, when people start taking the food diary and start tracking things, they become so aware. And I remember having that moment. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's why I'm not losing weight.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm actually paying attention now. now.
And it's some things really sneak up on you. Like even some stuff that you know is like quote unquote bad for you, right? You're like, oh yeah, it's bad for me. It's it's X. But when you actually look and it's Y, you're like, huh? Like I remember discovering that McDonald's large fries is like 500 calories, which I was like, okay, I knew these were bad. I didn't realise they were that bad. And it's like every time you then think of, oh, okay, right, now it all makes sense. And again, we're not saying you can't have the large fries. You can. You just need to factor that in as a number.
Yeah. You also, I think it's easy to get stuck on calories as a number rather than nutritional value.
Agreed.
That is really, and I'm at a point where I kind of spent the majority of my early years, going to the gym and training and then eventually becoming a PT. It was all about losing weight because I was at heavyweight. And I've never, now I'm at a point where I actually want to gain some muscle and get stronger. I'm now at a point where I have to try to completely flip my thinking of actually I need to eat. If I want to add some muscle mass, I need to eat nutritionally, I need to eat enough. And it's kind of that's a really strange concept for me because I've spent so many years, and I think so many people can relate to that. So many years of going, oh, I can't eat that, or I must restrict this, or kind of I can't eat over this amount because I'm trying to lose weight. And it's kind of it is overwhelming sometimes when you're like, oh God. And then now having to flip around, I'm just finding kind of I'm actually, when I wrote my first day on my food diary, I was like, I eat so much food. I couldn't believe how much was on there. And then for it kind of, but I actually kind of tell myself that's okay. Yeah. That's allowed. I'm allowed to eat. And also, I'm allowed to eat a lot if my appetite is what I'm going by, really. I am guided by my appetite, that if I'm hungry, I will eat. If I'm not, I won't, And I will try and make it nutritional, but that's not always realistic. It is really, really hard, especially when you're starting out, because, I say, it's overwhelming. There's so much information. What do you do first? Do you, focus on your diet? Do you focus on your training? Because trying to do both at the same time can be really hard, especially if you've got, life is tricky, everyone's got stuff, and then to have to go right, I'm gonna have complete overhaul of my lifestyle. I think it's quite unrealistic.
Absolutely.
And then a week or a month later, you give up and you wonder oh, why can I never succeed? It's because you try and take on too much. Just baby steps. Try and do little bits at a time.
This is why I said earlier on that I was using January as a month to get into this, because it's too much to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
You have got to ease yourself in, and where your diet technically makes up 80-70% of everything.
It's scientifically it's around that figure where it will have that much of a level of impact.
Yeah. That's why I was right, and try and focus on this first before I think about upping how much exercise that I do in a week, or thinking about doing more steps throughout the day. But then there'll be days where you're so busy at work, you're absolutely exhausted by the time you get home, and it's I need to really focus on how I'm going to build my energy levels. So that is also looking at what you're eating in the day.
Yeah, something that will be important and nutrient dense, and that's kind of the point to reference what you were saying, Amy, is the aspect of you're eating so much food, but for you who's trying to gain muscle, you're therefore going to be eating in some kind of caloric surplus. But if it's then nutrient dense, it's keeping you fuller. But there are also going to be points, and I think the best piece of advice you potentially said in there is that if you're hungry, just eat.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and suffer.
No.
Yeah.
I think again, I personally have had more success if I don't track calories and if I go by how I feel. If you can be in tune with your appetite and then try and make a good choice based on your hunger levels, for me, that's more successful than I have ever been tracking my calories. For me personally.
It's interesting because I have started to consider that an option because, I've tracked my calories now near enough every day. I've probably missed, if I'm realistic, I've missed probably about 40 days in the past 4 years of tracking my calories. And I've definitely found times by going, oh, I'm in a deficit by X. I can eat Y, and I'll still be in a deficit by Z. And it's I'm not actually hungry, but because I know I'm in that deficit,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I always used to do, and that was my biggest mistake, is because I would end up overeating by accident, thinking that I had calories to go, and doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, no, like it works most of the time. The problem is if you then get stuck on that number and start making excuses for yourself. But it's fun. It's an adventure. Like I just find it fascinating because like especially as well when you educate someone, right? Like it was a few years ago now, but it was with my mum. I remember I was having some dry toast, and she was buttering hers, and I was like, out of interest, how many calories do you think's in that butter you just put on your toast? She was like, no idea. It's probably bad. And it's like, oh yeah, it's bad. Like 15 grams of butter is like over 100 calories. And obviously that's calories being the energy. Is it? No, joules is the energy, isn't it?
Yes,
joules, kilojoules. Yeah. But I just thought it was fascinating. Like you kind of see people kind of make that mental note, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. Like I know that's bad for me. I didn't really want to know how bad it was.
Yeah, it's just
once you face it, it's actually like useful information.
Yeah, no, exactly. Man, butter is so good. I had it for the first time in ages recently. So good.
Yeah.
So good. I wanted to bring up something else as well, because I don't know how this is falling into my algorithm, but have you guys seen, I'm going to find it here, I'm fairly confident I saw him on Facebook, but have you seen the guy, he's in the UK, and he's basically going around to like all the supermarkets and just like, guys, this is shit. Have you seen this guy? Oh man, let me find him. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. Eddie Abu? Have you? Anyone aware of this guy?
No.
Nope.
So he's in the UK, right? And he's basically he like goes to like all these supermarkets, pulls food off the shelf, and like he starts like listing off the ingredients, and he's like, this is shit, that shit, and it honestly, like the way he does it is entertaining, but at the same time, I think it can spread the wrong message of you can only eat this, you can only eat that.
Yeah.
And I think like the only reason why I bring it up is it's not directly aimed at Eddie. Christ knows he's never going to know about this podcast. But I think it's more a thing of the amount of influencers out there that like firmly believe in something, right?
Yeah.
They're so defined in their belief, it can then spread that message to others. There's no right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it, but there's no right way to do it. If that makes any sense to anyone.
Yeah, it's like, for example, I follow a guy on Instagram called Simon Hill. And
good name.
Yeah.
Strong name.
But he's all about scientific evidence.
Yep.
And he interviews guests and things like that. And because there's so much information thrown at you now for health, nutrition, fitness, all of that sort of thing. And his main focus is on health. And he interviewed someone about the keto diet.
Okay.
And the scientific research behind that is that in long term, it is not good for you. Scientific studies have proven this, but there will be people out there who are like, I've lived on a keto diet for the last 10 years. I'm in absolutely great shape. This is how you should do it. And it's kind of like, it's just, be aware that not every bit of information that you get is going to be accurate, especially from quote unquote influencers.
Yeah.
Who kind of want to throw this at you, and because you're not sure what to do, you just kind of follow them. And I always encourage people, just do your research first.
So, I suppose what do they say for the keto diet? Because I've never gone keto because I like bagels, I like rice, I like tortilla
Carbs
wraps.
are good for you guys.
Carbs are
life.
Carbs are lovely. What is long term? Obviously, there's no arbitrary after 2 years of the keto diet you're going to suffer from X, but do they kind of give a rough idea of hey, you probably shouldn't do this longer than?
I'll be honest, I can't remember
Okay.
from what I listened to. I can certainly find out and come back with that. But it was essentially the guy threw out a statistic. Again, I will clarify what this actually was, but there was a certain amount of, like, the research showed that there was, essentially, it did not take years off your life. People didn't live as long without carbohydrates in their diet as they do with them.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, because carbohydrates are actually essential for our living. And so keto can be great for, like, perhaps a 3-month stint, but it's not encouraged to do it as a permanent lifestyle, which some people do. Like they say, I don't have bread, or I don't have potatoes, or I don't have pasta, like none of those things. Which to me, that sounds like hell.
It certainly sounds like hell.
Yeah.
I think part of the potential problem that comes with that is that people go onto the keto diet and they're like, oh my god, in 2 weeks I was down 10 pounds. It's like, cool. How much of that was fat? And how much of that was water because you weren't having carbs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I understand what you were saying before about how, like, you can be told this is bad for you, this is good for you, this is bad for you, but how do you actually know? Like, obviously, that Eddie guy was probably on point with, like, the nutritionally, those things.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong, like, nutrition, like, one of the first things I think that he said was, and again, like, this is why, like, perhaps the way that he's getting his point across was a bit, I don't know, I found it almost jarring. But at the same time, I get it when he's picking up a chicken in Tesco and the third ingredient is like brown sugar. Yeah. And it's like, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I don't necessarily like the way that you're doing it, but I do get what you're saying.
And it is hard to take that information sometimes, because it's kind of like, well, sometimes I don't have a choice. I have to eat. Some people don't have a lot of money to be able to afford the diet that they'd like. And especially if you've got children, of course you're going to pick up a packet of Skips because your kids love Skips and they need to eat something. So there are barriers to kind of like, well, this is bad for you, you shouldn't eat it, but it's unrealistic to say that you're never going to eat it. I think, that sometimes that when you see that info, like you say, it is a bit jarring because you don't really know how to take it on board, but it's also kind of, it is valuable information.
How have you guys found it, Kirsty Ellis? Obviously, considering the fact that I know you touched on it last time, you're still at home with your parents, like over the month of January, the past 2 weeks, whatever. How have you found it? Because I think you guys went like grocery shopping, which sounded weird to say now that I say it.
Food shopping?
Yeah, food shopping this morning. Like, has there been kind of like overall impacts there?
Well, I went food shopping. Ellis stayed at home this week. The lucky thing. For the most part, before we started this anyway, I was doing my own food shop, but it'd be like little things here and there because Mum's going to be buying, the bulk of vegetables anyway. So it's like, oh, well, I can just use that, if it's not going to be used in the week, or there'll be veg still left over from last week that I can acquire. So making a conscious effort to not pick up bad food though is like, when I go, I end up being so hungry when I go food shopping. I'm looking at all the croissants and the pastries and I'm like,
well, that's a mistake.
Yes, I would love that. Today was my most expensive shop though, and that's probably not even because of what food I was getting. It was because of other items that I had to get as well. But yeah, great. It's food shopping.
Is it hard having?
I try and keep my plan simple so that I know, how much is coming out on it.
With me, it's not too bad. Like, I will try and get stuff that I necessarily need, but the only issue with still living with your parents is they do, like, Mum will like to pick up treats and all that. So in our cupboard there is an assortment of chocolates, crisps, cookies, biscuits, and I think that is the worst thing, because going into a cupboard expecting, because like I've bought some like low calorie popcorn, like sweet and salty popcorn, because it's low calories and it's just like a nice little sweet treat as a snack. It's not high in calories, so that's what I've been going to. But when you go in the cupboard and then you look up one shelf and then there's just a box full of cookies and digestive biscuits and all this, and it is the worst thing ever, because you're just like, oh, I could so easily eat one of those right now. Just having temptation in your path is the most difficult thing. But so far, restraint has been held high.
I won't lie, I have a pack of cookies next to me at my desk right now. Like, they are sitting there.
So someone's
But no.
someone's restraint is there, and someone's is
Yeah, I've been restraining myself because I've been in the mornings. I've been eating porridge, so I've been eating Morrison's apple and cinnamon porridge, which is it's nutritional. It's not very high in fats and stuff like that, and it's just having something that's just got that little bit of flavour. So I've been keeping myself at a very consistent, steady intake at the moment. But just for the fact it's there, it's just like I've got the willpower to say no, I'm not eating it. But all it takes is one bad day, and I know all I've got to do is open a cupboard, and I'm just going to devour. Which willpower defining, I won't go there.
You're allowed those days though, just to there will be days when you kind of just go, do you know what, I'm not into it today. I'm really tired, or I just needed something nice, something comforting. That is allowed. You're allowed to have.
Oh yeah.
I am an emotional eater.
It's not going
Same.
overboard.
Oh, I know that, but it's just for the fact, I've got myself to this routine for the best part of me. I want to stick to this routine.
Yeah.
The only downside of this at the moment is my health side, because as much as I'm sticking to this routine, people don't know me. I've had spots and bad acne and all that, but since working out, it is definitely flared up to the point it is painful and sore and visually just so unappealing. And which I've gone to the GP and I'm getting it treated, and I'm going to be on antibiotics on Monday. But that is my biggest shame at the moment. Where it's this whole podcast is trying to better ourselves. I'm physically trying to better myself, get healthy and all that. But I wanted to get healthy in regards to all my body. So one of them being my spots and all that. But I've just had such a downside, because where I've been healthier, but my spots have gotten worse. It's just it's a one side high and a one side down, which is it's one of those difficulties at the moment. But from that,
I think it could be
it's
one of
all
those
good.
things, because I remember going through something similar. I don't know obviously to the extent that yours is, but I remember going through something similar when I started. Is the aspect of you're changing up your lifestyle so much so quickly, the body goes, whoa, what we doing? And then it, for lack of a better term, it's got to get that shit out of your system.
Yeah.
And I remember struggling. There was a few times, I would have flare ups. I still sometimes do now. If I have a particularly bad day, I notice it. My chest is one of the first things to flare up quite badly from a skin irritation perspective.
Yeah.
And I remember as well, going back to your point right at the start, Amy, about sugar. Mine started where I was like, right, I'm going to try and get rid of. The phrasing they used was added sugar from my diet, because if you try to cut sugar out of your diet completely, I mean, it's impossible.
No,
you can't eat no sugar.
It's sugar is a drug itself. It's
Honestly,
something
it's
you're
horrible.
always going to have cravings for. And when you drop it, it's just so bad.
And
Sugar is one of the biggest addictions out there.
I started it it was a good few years ago now. I started it in January, and I was like, right, from the 1st of January, no added sugar. So obviously any foods that had sugar in it, fine. But I was like, right, all my fizzy drinks now sugar-free, my coffee sugar-free, whatever. First 3 days, wonderful. I woke up January the 4th, and I remember this vividly. I had a concussion again. It was that painful. Yeah. As someone who's suffered a concussion, I was like... And I tried everything. I tried all the painkillers I had, all the fluid, everything that is known to get rid of a headache.
Migraine?
Headache, migraine, whatever. Nothing worked. I didn't actually then proceed to have anything, because I was like, oh, whatever. Because again, I have a history of migraine, so I just suffered through it, slept, whatever. Following day, I was absolutely fine, and from that point on, I was fine. But I think my body was basically telling me, "Yo, that thing that we really like, gimme, gimme now."
Yeah.
It is a come down from shit. And that's why I'm trying to do it slowly. Is because I'm trying to avoid the binge, because you can do that. If you cut something out completely, you will get to a point, possibly, not everyone, but I certainly will, where I just go, screw it, and then I will eat tons of it. And that's obviously, so to avoid that, I have to go slowly.
Yep. I can relate so hard. But yeah, your body will react to any change that you make. It will. And unfortunately, that'll come out in different ways for people.
Yeah.
Every time I come off of drinking full fat Coke, within a couple of days, my head is pounding. It's like I have a migraine, and I'm like, I can't keep going on, because it wants the sugar, and I have to just barrel through, because you don't want it in your diet anymore.
Well, as a mum of a toddler, that's one of my favourite quotes for anything difficult. and say, like, we can't go over it, we can't go under it, we just have to go through it. And that's from We're Going on a Bear Hunt. But I think that stands for a lot of things in life. Like, you just have to keep pushing through it, and you will get out the other side.
What is it what is it? Oh man, I've heard it quoted so much recently in social media. I remember seeing it. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one. I heard it a few years ago, and it came up again recently. It's like, you know, hey, this too shall pass. You know, I've faced hardship before, and here's the thing in life. You know, sometimes we face hardships that we can't control.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that is fully in our control, and that makes it more flexible.
Yeah.
And just having that ability. At the end of the day, we're not trying to achieve these things as fast as possible. We're trying to all better ourselves in certain ways, and while obviously, you know, we're trying to keep ourselves accountable by having these punishments on it, again, you know, at the end of the day, just because you quote unquote lose doesn't mean you didn't have positive impact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just as a whole that with regards to the punishment, it's out of the four of us, you've lost in terms of what you wanted to achieve, but the likelihood is along the way you have achieved certain parts of it, but just not to the extent that you wanted it to.
Yeah.
That's it. That's entirely it. And hey, you know, I don't know. I sit here and I think it's like, man, you know, there's not one of them that as much as I don't want to be a vegetarian for a week, I think, yeah, if I look at it and think about all the others, yours is definitely the one that I wouldn't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, out of all of you guys, if you were to pick someone else's that you had to do, it would not be mine.
Someone with severe
I would do
social
yours
anxiety,
happily.
I could not do
I
yours.
know, yeah.
I don't want to do anything related to heights.
We can swap, Ellis.
Sure.
I don't think
Even though
that's
you don't mind
appropriate
heights.
for you, though.
I will embrace it.
Okay, I do have a game.
Oh!
You know, we said we'd about doing context is key.
Oh, yes!
Yeah. Are we happy to have a go at that?
Let's absolutely play a round of context is key. I remember we have this noted down. I have our podcast notes in front of me. I've got context is key. The thing that I'd written down here was review a sentence and guess the context. Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have something for you guys, and you have to. So I will tell you, like, just it's two sentences, and you have to try and guess, like, the context, what it's about, where it's from, who's saying it, that sort of thing. Okay.
I'm in. They're asleep.
I was waiting for the.
I was waiting for the
Oh,
answer.
yeah, I was
waiting
not the
for
answer to the
it.
question. Yeah, I was prepped already.
Okay. Right. So here we go. Caroline, keep my name out of your thin mouth. What did Caroline do, Helen?
Now, you see, this is interesting because the first question I was going to ask, because you said it was two sentences, I was going to say, is this two different people? But you have already now specified that it's two different people. Caroline, keep my name out of your thin mouth. What was the second one?
What did Caroline do, Helen?
What did Caroline do, Helen?
What?
This sounds very accusatory.
It's very much like the Will Smith, Chris Rock, keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
I was going to say, I'm like, has this come from Desperate Housewives? Or was it like...
Yeah.
But, however, you might be on the right track with Housewives.
Okay. Guess the context. This exchange happened at the gym you work in.
No?
Ah!
That would be.
Good
My
guess, though.
God, that would be so intense if that was at the gym that she worked at.
Yeah, I have to break up a fight
God.
while I'm at work.
Did you overhear this in like
Keep
Tesco's?
my name out of your thin mouth.
Yeah, your thin
Oh.
mouth. What did
Right, I
Caroline
don't think
do,
it's.
Helen?
I don't think it's Tesco's then, because they would have.
Hold on, this is leading me to believe there's perhaps multiple parties, because if Caroline is saying, keep my name out of your thin mouth, that's not necessarily directed... Oh.
You're onto something.
There's
there.
layers to this. It's like an onion.
Would you like a clue?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this isn't an in-person fight.
Oh.
Oh my God, this is a Facebook status, isn't it?
It is!
Oh my God.
There we are, showing our age with Facebook statuses. Caroline, it kicked my...
Was it, "I'll DM you, hun"?
No. But they are, so... Keep my name out of your... Caroline, keep my name out of your thin mouth. And then somebody else asks, what did Caroline do, Helen? So Helen's the one saying, keep your name out of my thin mouth. But what do you think they're fighting about?
Oh. Ooh.
It's Facebook. It could be anything.
Hang
I'm
on.
gonna say that. See, here's the thing. It's Facebook, so again, it could be anything.
Is it about a cake?
So think about housewives. The names Caroline and Helen. Who would you associate with those kind of people? Like, what would you associate with?
They're older mothers. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the mothers haven't got anything to do, but they are older women.
They're older. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Is it about cake?
Close.
Was it from like? Oh my god! Is this gonna be like a Stitch and Bitch type situation?
I've passed. I've got nothing.
It's like when you get together and do like a cross stitch and you have a natter.
Oh,
and then some might bring cake.
Spill the tea and all that kind
Yeah.
of. Right, with you. Understood. You know, I'm out. I'm out.
So what do you think, like, again, what housewives might argue about?
Fucking anything. Literally anything.
Gardens, like property, like lines, fences.
I don't know, has she been sleeping with her husband or like what's...
No, this definitely isn't a sleeping with her husband. This could be like someone got up and mowed the lawn at like 9 a.m, and she's like, how dare they?
Yeah, it is more like that.
See,
Oh.
here's the thing. I was thinking there's going to be, now that I'm thinking there's some kind of like body shaming, a thin mouth. Thin mouth.
I know, it's not even a,
What
like
is
a real...
What is a thin mouth?
That just made me laugh because I was like, that's not even an insult. What? Like...
I could be all day
Okay.
analysing. I've got nothing.
Okay.
Caroline said that Helen's cake was dry.
Like, final guess.
That's what I'm going with. I don't know about the boys, but that is what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'm
I've got
saying-
no clue.
I'm saying just to make it interesting. Caroline is a 5G caused COVID, and Helen is a scientific brain, and she knows that that's utter nonsense.
Ellis, you got any guesses?
I don't. I'm literally stumped as to what it could be.
Okay. So, I'm going to give you the answer. Have you guys ever heard of... I'm probably going to butcher this name, okay? But I pronounce it Lubelin.
Never heard
It's
of
a
it.
guy.
Okay.
And he turns internet dramas into songs.
Yes,
That's
I
cool.
know who you're talking about. You used to send me these.
Yes, I think that... So, this one's really funny. Like, he's done a series of just internet dramas, but he turns them into songs, and you guys can look it up. It's Internet Drama Part 2, She Stole My Broccoli.
No.
She stole my broccoli.
Okay, so you ready?
Go on. Fucking hair girls. That is top tier.
Do you know what, like, I came across it randomly after we'd been talking about this. I was like, I've got to use that as one of the
That's
contexts.
top
key.
tier. I love that so much.
Yeah, so guys out there, look for, it's spelled Lubalin, Lubelin. But yeah, he turns like into, he's done other songs, but my favourite series that he's done is internet dramas turned into songs. They're really good.
Oh, that tickled me pink. Needless to say. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the DTF podcast. Please consider dropping us a follow and rating us 5 stars on Spotify. It really, really helps us out, and potentially, lets us grow the podcast. Podcasts grow through word of mouth. So tell a friend, tell your family, tell your pet. I'd recommend a cat personally. Also follow us on
Dogs.
socials, which are
Dummies Try Fitness. So at Dummies Try Fitness, all one word, on Instagram, and it is the same on TikTok. So Dummies Try Fitness, all one word.
beautiful. You're gonna try and derail us here, Kirsty, or you did it so wonderfully last week?
No. I was going to tell you the weird story about, like, my one weird story for the week.